Hello, FewCandy here, and welcome back to Solitude. So we have now got in our downtown road network frame, so it's time to start filling this out today. And because downtowns can be quite expansive, we're going to break this down into chunks. So we're just going to focus on the central business district, where the key skyscraper locations are going to be to form that main skyline right in the centre of the downtown today. And then we'll be kind of working our way out from there with the waterfront, the port, the old town district, the mountainous housing, luxury housing and condos. Lots of different things to be putting into this downtown. So we're just going to break it down and start with that main skyline and how to design that and really position it so that it feels realistic and also fits the landscape and the vibe that we want to go for here. So before we dive in, I do just want to point out a couple of little fixes and improvements that I have made since the last episode. So massive thanks to SRK on the Discord for this inspiration, but I have actually just unlocked the parking road using Network Multi-Tool and the unlock function here to then place a tram track or a pedestrian tram road through the bottom of this station here, so we can have tram stops right in the middle of the station. That is an amazing idea, SRK, and I absolutely love how this works, and I think it will massively improve our tram network actually, so we can bring the trams up, round, across, through the station and on into the rest of the city. So it's really going to kind of cross the main downtown, which is a much more efficient route and such a creative idea. So thank you so much to SRK for that. Absolutely love it. So that's a huge improvement on the station there. And then I know a lot of you were screaming at the angle that these were coming into the station. Now I have just smoothed this out. So I've actually moved the station back. Now that we didn't have the parking road in, I was able to actually just shift the station back a little bit to make these slightly smoother. So we do now have actually a relatively gentle curve coming into the station. It's still not ideal, but I have seen stations like this. Like actually Waterloo in the UK is very much curved straight into the station. So I'm kind of happy with that, and it does look a lot less jarring than it did before. And we've also managed to make these like quite nice and smooth coming out of here. It's a little bit of a sharp turn there. We may smooth that out depending on what buildings we put in here. But yeah, much happier with that. So I know quite a few of you complained. Hopefully that has rectified that issue. And of course, it was also mentioned on the premiere of the last Downtown Road Network episode that we should call this Squircle Square because of the very nice little curved pedestrian roads here. So I am actually just going to name this pedestrian area Squircle Square. Thank you so much to Dave Ullman for that idea. Absolutely love that name. And we're going to be doing some little detailing in here which will lend itself to some of the lore around Captain Jack Squircle. Thank you to those who came up with that, Gorgonzola and Novus. I think we're definitely involved in that. So we'll come on to that later in this episode. So I always like to start by adding in my peaks of height before anything else, so I know where they are positioned. And then you can kind of fill in the gaps with some sort of medium, slightly lower buildings in around that. That's really how I like to start with the downtown. And the best way to do this really is to look at Google Earth and to take inspiration from other cities, to look at the shape of the downtowns. There's so many different varieties out there. In terms of my personal favourites, I actually really like Charlotte in the United States. I also really like Boston as well. That's another beautiful looking skyline right on the waterfront there. And then of course you've got things like Canary Wharf in London, and then completely different styles of skylines, like things like Hong Kong, where it's very built up all the way along the coast. And even Rio de Janeiro to a point as well. So tons of different things that you can work with if you just take a little trip to Google Earth. Now, I'm not really using one city for inspiration for Solitude because it's such an awkward space. There's nothing that I've really found that kind of mirrors it that I can really take inspiration from. So actually the closest one I was looking at is Charlotte. Really like that skyline, although it is a completely different setting. So there's a few buildings that I know I want in here, and actually from the vanilla set of buildings, I'd really like to use the Sea and Skyscraper. I think it's a really interesting shaped building, and one that would fit in here quite nicely. So I'm just going to place that in there for now. We can move things around as we see fit once we've placed everything in. There is also the transport tower as well, which I'd really like to use, and I forget which level this is. There it is. And I think that this would be quite fitting actually on the edge of this plaza. So if we come down, we can see like around this plaza, obviously this is all going to be open and we'll do some really nice detailing in and amongst it. But then you come down here and it's got this really fancy entrance. And I think we can do some nice detailing outside it as well. I definitely want to get rid of those car parking spaces though. So let's get Bob out straight away today we will be doing quite a lot of this, and we'll remove all of the parking spaces from around it. But we will be adding in downtown parking, just not immediately in front of some of our main skyscrapers. So same goes for the Sea and Skyscraper. Ski and Skyscraper? What's it called? Yeah, it is Sea and Skyscraper. There we go. Yeah, we definitely don't want the parking on it. And we'll have a look at the plants and things when we come to the detailing, whether we want to keep those, maybe flesh them out with some flower beds underneath, perhaps. So we'll kind of deal with that when it comes to the detailing. But for now, let's just get our buildings placed and remove those car parking lots. Now, there is another interesting shaped building that I'd quite like to add into this, which is from the Africa in Miniature pack. And I'm actually, although I kind of slated this in my review of it, I'm actually really growing to like it. There's some super duper interesting buildings in it. Like things like the communication centre, we can definitely use this somewhere in the downtown as well. The gold tower is very gold. I won't lie. It's interesting. I think it would fit Solitude's architecture where we've got a mix of different influences is really what I'd like to go for here. A lot of this central business district that we're doing today will be very modern in its kind of stature, but we will come on to a sort of more old town. I think behind the station is where I'm thinking for this. But we definitely want a mix of kind of old and new architecture for sure. Now, I'd quite like this one in from Africa in Miniature as well. I'm wondering if this should go up somewhere this end because it's slightly smaller, so it can kind of act towards the building height as we crawl up towards the downtown. It's got a pool on its roof as well, so I kind of want to like maintain that with a relatively nice view around it. But we'll place that in there for now. We can, of course, always move it around afterwards. And there is also another really, chunky building from the Railways of Japan content creator pack as well. Now, of course, if you're missing any of these, and we're probably going to use skyscrapers quite heavily in this episode, please do go and check out my instant gaming link in the description below. There's massive discounts on a whole host of games. And it also helps to support the channel. So I'm thinking something like this, because it's so chunky, might actually lend itself pretty well to being up against our kind of, it's not really a highway, but our main kind of highway slip roads here. So I think that would be quite a nice view. Which direction are they coming in? If they're coming in from here, I think it'd be quite nice to sort of sweep around that big chunky office building as you come around there. Does need some framing and some detailing around the back of it. But I'm not opposed to that for the moment. So yeah, again, we'll leave that there. And it's a slightly lower height building as well. So again, that'll help towards our crawl in height up towards the centre. So let's go back and actually have a look at skyscrapers and see what we want to implement from here. Now, like I said, I don't want any of these super duper tall ones. This is just not what Solitude's about. I do want peaks of height, like I want skyscrapers in here. I want tall buildings, but I don't want anything really that is taller than our central building here. So this transport tower is about as tall as it gets, but I think we could definitely implement the Australia Poly building because this is quite a nice one here. I'm wondering if this could go up quite close to the main square here. That sort of almost doubles up. It almost evens out the transport tower from certain angles as well. And one angle I'm particularly keen to make sure is really nice is from this highway overpass over here. Like I really want people to drive past it and be like, oh yes, that's a view. That's what I really want from there. Yeah, I quite like that. We have also got this one again. This one's way too big, but this is another kind of chunky one that could go up against our highway. So perhaps in here, I'm thinking though the angle should be more alongside this road here. Now we do have issues with terrain height a little bit. We need to be careful with that. So perhaps we just push it back very slightly away from that road. So we've got a little bit more of a border to play with there. But I'm not too opposed for that for now. It's going to need some work around it, so we'll leave it in there. And again, like just looking from every angle when you do this is really important to see if you like the placement of it. And we also have this one that isn't too tall. So this is the Cantalinus Nort Tower. I don't know if I've absolutely butchered that or not. Wonder if that could kind of crawl down in height from our main circle Australia Tower there. Which adds quite a nice dimension, I think, as we come down towards the edge of the central business district. So that will do for now in there. We've also got the Marshall's Tower. I feel like this is too dominant. Yeah, it's almost as tall as our central building. So that's probably a little bit big for what we want in here. And we also have this one. It's very chunky. I feel like that's almost too wide and chunky for Solitude. It is, yeah, it's quite a bit chunkier than the one we've got over there. So I think we'll leave that one. Oh, we're definitely not having this. That would just ruin the dynamic, I think, of what we're trying to go for here. Again, this one's a little bit tall. That one's far too tall. This one is more appropriate. So could we kind of again add to this little cluster that we're doing on this side perhaps and add it in here? I'm thinking with the angles on it, it would be quite nice to sort of have this facing into the junction like this. Again, we'll worry about trees and things afterwards, but if we have that like diagonal big glass open window on the corner there, it actually goes really well with this building too. I'm quite enjoying that for orientation. And again, if we just zoom out, it gives a nice little cluster on that side of it now. And again, from this angle, let's have a little look from here. Yeah, we're building down the height, but we're also popping back up. So I quite like that. It adds a little bit of variation there too. And we also have this one, which is just about small enough to add in. So we could use this. We'll add it in for now and see how it goes. And yeah, the smaller version of this one's a bit too big. So this is the thing. We just need to go through all of these assets and find the ones that are the right height for us. So there's a lot of the skyscrapers which are far too tall for Solitude, and we won't be implementing in this particular case. But a lot that will work as well. So this does actually just about fit on this corner here. So I think we can't really deny that. And again, it's quite a nice effect when we come off the square here with all of the pillars. We've got various different skyscrapers all around. Not minding that. And it does also help to fill that gap right from the waterfront too. Because we want to make sure that it's not really obvious kind of holy gaps in it. Like some skylines are like that, which is absolutely fine. But I think for this, I really want that kind of cluster right in the middle. I actually really like the height of this. I'm wondering if we could use a second one, maybe at the other end of the downtown. We kind of have a look where it might fit. It could actually be almost either end of this square. I think that's probably a bit close for that. So let's move this over. We could centralise it actually with this avenue here. Might look quite nice there. I really like that building. It's just nice and square and not too tall. And yeah, these are all absolutely out of the question. Not happening, unfortunately. This one's not too bad. We could place that in maybe on the edge. Although we have now got two of the wide blocky ones on that side, which may not be ideal. And that one is unfortunately too tall. And I feel like this is far too blocky. It does fit quite nicely in some of our grids, but it's a little bit too big for my liking there. This one would work quite well. I'm thinking perhaps actually if we put it slightly further away from the plaza there, we could do some other buildings potentially fused into the bottom of it. I'm not really loving this one, so let's get rid of that. I feel like it's too blocky for what I want. But I'm not minding this tower as much. We're still getting that as the key peak in height right in the centre, which is the main thing I think to focus on here. And then we also have this tower, and I'm actually thinking it might be quite nice to add in one taller skyscraper over this side. Now, like I mentioned, I'm not actually going to be building out this area this time out, so we will be coming in to do that. But I think some older buildings around one big modern skyscraper wouldn't go too much of a miss there. Yeah, I'm quite enjoying that. I feel like we have quite an obvious gap in this space though, so I'm wondering how we could fill that. I actually think maybe another Railways of Japan building could be quite nice here. Let's go back to that because it's slightly smaller. We're getting various different layers and we won't be able to see that through it, so we won't know that the asset's necessarily repeated. I like the front of it in terms of how it sits onto the plaza. I think with a lot of these buildings though, we are going to want to just use Move It to just shift them back a little bit, give ourselves a little bit more pavement room in front of it, because ultimately it all feels very, very crammed in on these smaller roads when you're doing high buildings either side of it, if we haven't just got that little bit of extra room in terms of the pavement. And then it also gives us opportunities to add benching and planters and signs perhaps even as street detailing around it, which will just help to bring it to life a little bit more, I think. So yeah, I'm quite enjoying this look actually as our main peak in skyscrapers, and of course not forgetting that we will be using things like offices and residential to bring down those layers of height around it, so this won't be it. But I think in terms of the main focal points, it feels quite nice from all angles, particularly here. I'm enjoying that quite a lot. And then down from this way as well, we get quite a nice variation in the different pops in height there. So yeah, I think we have got our main peaks in. Now, it's just dawned on me that I did also forget to mention the other major change that I have made since the last episode. Now, tons of you complained about the bike lanes crossing over these highway roads, which they're not really highway roads. It's meant to be like a ring road, but I appreciate their faster route options. So I have removed the bike lanes, and so they're now bike lane free. There's no more dangerous bike crossings, and we've just got a very simple 3-lane road going up either side. But yeah, no more bike lanes on our little ring road style highway access points there. So hopefully a lot of you will be pleased with that. So before I start filling up too much of the space, we do also need to address services. So if we start off with healthcare and looking at a hospital, we definitely want a large hospital in the downtown because there will be a lot of residents around this area. So I'm thinking possibly the high capacity hospital, which came with plazas and promenades. Like, this is a very, very nice looking hospital building and actually does sit in pretty nicely in this space right here. So let's just plop that in for the moment. And can we draw it back just a little bit further away from the road? We can. And it does also give us a bit of space behind to add an ambulance yard, maybe some more parking, etc. for the hospital as well. This actually looks like it is a multi-storey car park on the bottom of this, although there are no car parking spaces in it, which is kind of interesting. I quite like that. So that can almost go next to the hospital as well. Yeah, I think that's an all right placement for that. And if we move on to fire as well, so we have got a variety of options with this. I'm thinking maybe the vanilla firehouse would be a good option. I don't really want it around our central square, so I'm thinking somewhere further out. It could go in any of these spaces here. I think it'd be nice to have some offices probably around there or some commercial. We could perhaps put it on the main collector, which would give easy access. I wonder if maybe the plazas and promenade building is a bit more kind of beefy, isn't it? So we could add this in. Perhaps we add it into this square here, actually. If we pull it back just a little bit. And then again, we've got a bit of space around the back to create a yard for fire trucks. A bit of extra detailing around it. We'll see how that goes, but I think that placement's pretty all right for that. And it adds a nice like layer, I think, as well, next to this skyscraper this side, to just bring it down in height a little bit there. And then we've also got police. I really do like, again, the plazas and promenades police station. Maybe we have a plazas and promenades theme going on in the downtown. Oh, and it could fit into this little space here next to the highway. So if we just come down, actually, yeah, driving over the highway, you can just see it with all these skyscrapers behind. I think that's quite exciting, actually. And it also then gives us an opportunity to detail under the highway, perhaps with a police car yard. So we could draw in a little kind of access point down from this corner around the back into that yard there. Of course, we've got a bin yard in the back already. But yeah, I think that's quite a nice little position for the police station as well. So that gives us our main 3 services. We will also want education in here too, but we'll think about that possibly, I think, maybe towards the waterfront or perhaps even out in the hills either side, rather than being right central in the main central business district downtown area. The other thing we do have to play with are these pedestrian landmarks, and I think this is the office one, isn't it? The office zone landmark is, yeah, quite beefy actually in its height. Probably shouldn't go next to the skyscraper there. But can help to bring down some of those layers around it. And I believe it has a nice little plaza on the side too, which could be a nice addition in here. I'm wondering if we can squeeze it in this space. It may be a bit tight here, so let's see how we go. But we could do potentially a little bit of building fusing here. We just make sure it's lined up to some of the pillars on that building. We have got a walkthrough that then takes us round to the back entrance here. Let's pull it up a little bit so it's lined up again with those pillars either side. So I want to go back a tiny bit. Yeah, so we're not cutting off any windows there. We do also have what looks like a door in the side there, which I quite like. So it's almost like that skyscraper is growing out of the side of it. It's not really interfering with the roof or anything like that too much. It actually looks quite appropriate. And then we also do get this nice little food truck plaza area ready made for us on the side of the transport tower there. Yeah, I'm quite enjoying that. Obviously more detailing to be added in around there, but that creates quite a nice little corner for our plaza too, I think. And lots of different height variations there too, which feels quite realistic. And we could use some of these other ones as well. They are a little bit lower and slightly smaller, so I think there'll be a case of piecing them in once we've got some of the larger assets in that we want. I've actually also just suddenly thought about some of the modern Japan buildings in here as well. We could definitely use some of these. Like this one, we probably don't want another really tall skyscraper in here. We definitely don't want the office tower. I love this asset so much, but yeah, it's not going in today. Same goes for that one as well. Very much Oregon assets, those. We could use some of the rail yards or shipping centre, perhaps actually next to the station over here. This could be quite nice because it is a shopping centre, I believe. Like its main function. I mean, it's way overlapping with the road, which is an interesting placement there. We'll definitely want to pull this back just a little bit to give ourselves more pavement room out the front. Does that then interfere with this tower? Yeah, it does a bit. Perhaps if we angled it, actually, then we could have almost the back of it going onto the skyscraper. Just a touch of little fusing. And then we've got actually a nice little flat plaza area out the front. The same goes for the station as well. So this feels a bit more open down here amongst all the transport. It's so nice seeing all the Sims going backwards and forwards. And hopefully this is only going to get more and more as we add more into our downtown. So we might need to rethink this skyscraper placement. I'm not too opposed to this right now. We just need to line it up a little bit better, I think. If we can line it up to the windows at the front there, or up to that pillar at the very least. What happens to the back? Yeah, so the back alleyway has now disappeared, which I don't mind on that building. Then we do also get these little stairs at the side of it. Yeah, so it is like a big shopping centre almost tagged onto the bottom of this skyscraper there. Yeah, I think we'll leave that one like that. And we could actually, now I'm just thinking about this little area in particular, come in with some vanilla office assets. And I'm thinking about the big chunky level 1 one. This one, which sort of feels a little bit similar to our skyscraper in terms of the design of it. Let's just spin this round so we've got our logos on the corner there. Can we align it up nicely to the pillar and to the back of the shopping centre there? They still have got this walkway through to the back doors there, so that's not uninterrupted. And then we get a really nice corner asset. Not forgetting as well, this is on the corner of our plaza here, so this will be quite an important viewpoint. But again, we can add in some more detailing out the front of it to create a nice area for those office workers to go and work. Look, there's so many Sims now. Yes, yes. Welcome to Squircle Square. Yeah, I think that goes well. I'm just thinking while we're here, is there another office asset we can potentially use in this area? I'm now seeing loads of tall assets we should definitely integrate actually, so we will come on to that. Ooh, yes. We've got a lot more glass here and we have some high density commercial. Can we, and it's got a really nice corner as well, like I really like that entrance. I'm just wondering if we can fit this in here at all. I really don't want to fuse it with that African miniature tower though. I don't feel like that's appropriate for that. So if it can sit behind it quite nicely, that would be good. We have a very narrow... Oh, we can actually walk between the pillars there. I'm wondering if perhaps this should move over one. We add it to this corner here. Again, actually, that does make quite a nice corner asset, particularly when you're coming out of Squircle Square here. Let's go back into freeview mode. Yeah, you can see those red pillars and come up and see that glass on that corner. So actually, that's a much better placement for that. So we can then continue to add in a bit of this high density commercial into this area. So I think that that is a really great looking corner asset that we could add here. Again, we want to give it a little bit more breathing room around the pavement to feel a bit more realistic. Happy with the corridor going through there. So we just want to find something on the front here. And I'm thinking perhaps a Hearts of Career asset. Like some of these are super duper tall. Could we potentially fuse this one onto the back of here? Again, it gives us this really nice corner piece. We're really enjoying a downtown movie box. We come onto this one. We do still have a very small alleyway through there. It would be a dangerous alleyway. Don't go down there at night, folks. Yeah, I don't mind that too much. This is quite a tall building though, so we want to check that it's kind of integrating into our skyline nicely too, which I feel like it is. Yeah, it's a very modern architecture, but I think that's absolutely fine for Solitude. Like I said, we want a mix of old and new in here, really. There is another one that does fuse to the side of it really nicely, which is very tempting not to do because it's got the same signage as well. And you can just about see those shop fronts going down the side there. And we still maintain our alleyway all the way through there. We could even put a footpath through there to get Sims walking through, actually. I don't mind that. How dominant is it in the skyline? Let's go back to our view over here. It's very blocky. It does block the other one. It's much less blocky from some other angles though. I'm quite enjoying that. I think we'll leave that in there. But just heading back to modern Japan as well, because there is a hotel, downtown hotel, That could be quite appropriate on the corner of our plaza here. And also, I have not forgotten the hotels and retreats assets for this, by the way, either. Like, so definitely don't think that. However, let's just take a little look at them because I don't really like the big ones. I hate to say it. So we have got the conference hotel. This could fit somewhere nicely into our skyline, but it's brown. I just don't like it, and unfortunately you cannot change the colour with repaint as well. Like there's just no option to do that. So yeah, I just don't love it. Could potentially go on the waterfront. You guys can let me know what you think about that. And then the other option is actually, yes, this city hotel, which we could definitely add, to be fair. Again, it's just not a very nice asset, dare I say it. It just really doesn't look great. It could potentially go on the corner out here, though. That actually fits in relatively... Oh, no, it doesn't on the corner. Let's just check what it actually needs to function, though. So it wants shopping, it wants offices. It's already got, yeah, but it also wants nature. So actually that could work quite well if we do a bit of nature out here for it being on the outskirts. I think we might actually get rid of this skyscraper here. I'm not super duper loving it. Perhaps the hotel... It's just so green. Maybe we need to change... We actually haven't named the hotel chain, I'm just thinking. And maybe we need to change the colour of it away from green. Perhaps white? That does feel a lot nicer like that, I have to admit. Yeah, going back to our tall buildings, there are a ton of buildings we could actually integrate into here, not forgetting just the plain vanilla offices. We have this one, which is a really interesting shape. We could have it angled diagonally onto a corner, maybe behind the hotel here. We can get this to fit in. Yeah, there's plenty of space there, actually. This could be quite nice. Actually, that view is quite nice there. Looking down towards the plaza with those two skyscrapers in the background. Yeah, that could work nicely for that building. There are a ton of nice other office assets, though, we could definitely incorporate into here. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe that. Could we add something onto the corner as well? Something with a little bit more glass would be nice for here. Perhaps this one? Although the brown roof is a little bit much. Can we reset it? Does that change at all? Yeah, that's a bit better on the lightness. Actually, I really like the corner of that. I think that sits in well. We might need to bob off the fencing at the back there. Help the skyscraper behind sit in a little better. We could definitely line that up to the corner. Have this one next to it. Keeping a little bit of breathing room between the buildings would be nice there. And maybe some high density commercial next to it too. We haven't used any wall to wall yet either, so that's always an option. There is a slightly older looking building, actually. It might be nice to integrate into here. Yeah, this one. A couple of blocks of this might be quite nice. As long as we can get them in the same colour. The red is kind of appealing to me right now. If we merge these up, then that gives that slightly older look to some of these more smaller buildings. Like kind of people have come into Solitude and built up big modern skyscrapers around some of the older facilities, and some of them have been kept and maintained. That's what I quite like about this. Quite like the red there too, and actually that entrance on the side is really nice, so we should respect that. And then we could completely change it up by bringing in some IT cluster next to it, perhaps. And I really, really do like this building a lot when we push it all together and make nice little rows out of it like this. We do just want to make sure they're perfectly lined up. Yeah, like that. Then let's grab all of these with move it, and we'll just shift it back away from that street a bit. And it gives us plenty of room around this other skyscraper at the back there. So you can kind of see we're sort of filling out a lot of these gaps in the skyline with these other buildings here, and checking street level is always worth it too. Yeah, I do quite like the kind of transition from slightly older looking building into the super modern, down to the hospital, the amazing architecture here. We come round and onto the main square, which feels relatively built up actually already. We'll probably need some more assets around here, but we'll come on to that as well. Yeah, it's starting to fill out. It's starting to fill out quite nicely. So now we've kind of talked about the general principles of it. What I am going to do is, focusing again just on this area here, our main central business district, is just go in and fill out a lot of these gaps like we have been doing with some of the more medium to high density office buildings, commercial buildings, perhaps even a residential tower here or there. And then we'll come back and we'll talk about what we're going to do to detail it all up. that is all the main assets into our central business district, and I am really, really pleased with this view of the skyline in particular. But yeah, I really like how it's come together all the way around. It's not too tall, but it's tall enough to signify a bustling, busy, modern city centre in and amongst some of this old architecture as well. So I have used quite a bit of Brooklyns and Queens actually on the outskirts, just to add a bit of residential, also down here too, mixing it up with a bit of vanilla, because actually I like the changes in height that offers, as opposed to just this kind of very one-dimensional height that the Brooklyns and Queens are. They're all like exactly the same. So I like having these little variations in it, and colour and pop in height and things like that. But yeah, it's kind of come together quite well. We've got lots of commercial dotted around all over the place. Obviously, there's a ton of detailing for us to now do to come and fit it in. I am debating these Korean towers because I find that very, very blocky at this point. Like, you can't really sort of see through it and see that through to the rest of the downtown. But yeah, really, really liking this street coming up here. It feels nice and busy as you head towards that main plaza. A little bit of wall-to-wall added here as well, just the commercial to kind of add on to the back of this hotel around this corner here. And leaving some of these signature buildings, like the more interesting ones, very open around them, I think gives them a little bit more prominence there. Yeah, lots of modern city centre used as well, so I really like this little section here. It feels a little bit older style too, in amongst some of these big glass modern buildings. And we did use a little bit of retaining wall here just to flatten this out. So we've got this really nice plaza to play with in the detailing. Yeah, some nice eatery areas and communal areas, I think, to be put in there. But that retaining wall works really, really nicely up against this highway here. So pleased with that. A little bit of tidying up we do need to do along there as well. And then, yeah, just lots of office and commercial buildings really dotted in. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, the financial district, of course. Yeah, so I did want this older look at certain points in the city, so I thought that this was quite nice. Now, I definitely don't want to put the stock exchange into Solitude. It really just isn't a nice asset, so yeah, I've kind of avoided that. But I have used some of the financial district's buildings here to create a really nice centrepiece onto this plaza that will be in here. I am considering actually if we make this an open green park in this area rather than plaza, just to add a bit of greenery into the downtown as well. So we'll see about that when we come to the detailing and what fits and what works there. But then we've also got this sort of older financial section around this building, wrapping all the way around with a little bit of that modern glass on the side too, to kind of blend into that office tower that we have there. And then a nice little usage of modern city centre here, where we've just fused it into the side of these two skyscrapers. So it kind of creates this nice little block in the middle here. And then we've got this nice little block. I have used an extra access road to create access to the back of these shops here, but liking how this looks with the two office towers interspersed with some of this commercial here. I think that works quite nicely in this case. So it is now time to talk about street level and what we're actually going to do for this. So in this area, what I'd really like to do is keep open green areas around the actual squircle in the centre, with some of that Solitude undergrowth coming in. But as I mentioned in the lore, we do have this character of Captain Jack Squircle now, thanks to Gorgonzola and to Nomus for coming up with that name. So I think it's really appropriate that we add a statue for Captain Jack Squircle into here. And I'm thinking this would be quite an appropriate place when we come off this pedestrian pathway in the corner here and out towards to see Captain Jack Squircle. So we're going to place him in there for now. Obviously, we'll surface paint around the front area here and the other side. We'll kind of make this quite uniform, I think, around. So we'll have him in one corner. We'll have a fountain in another one, using some of our jets as well, our water jets. I think this would be fun to incorporate around. But yes, I think that would be a good thing to have. So we'll do some nice detailing around Captain Jack Squircle, but I thought it was important to get him in. Thank you so much for that asset as well, Nomus Towns. Thank you for linking that. I think that will work perfectly for here. And we do also have a really steady stream of people coming in and out of this station. Like, this is just absolutely marvellous to watch. We've got the intercity trains coming into here now, people from the local trains coming in and getting onto the metro as well, and also onto the tram tracks running around the downtown, which we will sort out as we come to build more of the downtown. We're not going to do it in today's episode, but that will be developed more. So do not worry about that, that will be done. But it's just so nice to see all this pedestrian activity around this area, crossing the road, going through into Squircle Square. Maybe this is a better place for the statue, actually. See when we come to do the detailing. But yeah, really, really enjoying the street level. So it's now just time to make that feel a lot more realistic. Okay, so we have the first layer of Solitude Skyline in, and I'm really kind of pleased with how this is all looking. Particularly this view from the waterfront straight down that main road up to our main building is particularly nice indeed. Yeah, lots of kind of little fiddly, intricate detailing. So that detailing time-lapse certainly wouldn't have shown you it all. So we'll try and head round most of the blocks at least and give you a flavour of what's been done. So I'll start with this little square here. Now I actually decided to keep it open grass. I really wanted to bring a bit of green into the downtown because if you look at it, it's like very heavily concreted everywhere, which is realistic for a tropical city. Like anywhere with grass would be massively overgrown. But I feel like there would be little gardens like this that would be well maintained and looked after. So yeah, really pleased with how this one's come out. The tiles around here in particular have worked so well, and then with the little tiny curve props as well going around the edge really kind of finishes it off very neatly indeed. So really liking how this looks with the flowers around it and the big statue in the middle. We're probably going to have some lore around that. I'll let you guys come up with that. Who is the statue? What is he doing here? Outside of our old financial district buildings as well, which I did just finish off again with a little bit of curb around those little plant areas. Added in a couple of extra plants there as well to beef them up a little bit. But also really liking this little metro area here as well with the shelters and the benches around it, the little newsstands, a couple of prop sims here and there to make it feel alive. But I think that really helps kind of define the metro station rather than just plopping it in and leaving it there in the corner of our garden. Then if we come on to the hotel over here, again, we've just added little planters. There's loads of planters and benches around the downtown, as you might expect. We've got this bit of fencing around the hotel car park at the back here, which does extend slightly underneath the overpass there. And that just continues all the way around to kind of protect from our little ring road here. And then if we continue on, yeah, we've just got planters. We've got this car park at the back of the hospital as well. Lots of bollards used throughout the downtown. So I've used a few different types. These little white blocks here are particularly nice. I like those. And we have tons of these sheltered seating benches with the tree going through the middle. Those shelters from the plazas and promenades DLC and the little benches from the workshop. Really liking that. I wish Sims would actually sit on them. So we do need to go around with quite a few prop Sims, I think, to bring different areas to life. But yeah, in terms of the hospital, we have just finished off the front with the little ambulance areas mainly. Oh, we go inside a building. I did hatch off this area to make sure that it was left clear for ambulances in case of emergency. I'm assuming this is the A&E through these doors here and the main entrance obviously there. We've got pathways running through all of these alleyways throughout the downtown. That's a common theme, so there's quite a few of those around the place. And the sea and skyscraper as well. We've just finished off some of those treed areas, those green areas with our own little planters. And also throughout the downtown as well. I was thinking Solitude's like a tropical environment, and I feel like there'll be lots of little market stalls selling bananas and other fruit at the side of the road. So I've added in quite a few little random green cities market stalls around the place, which I really quite like the effect of. So yeah, we've done that in a number of places. Then we've got this nice little sheltered, again, benched area here with these little plants in the middle of them, which I think has come out pretty nicely there. And tons of green around the transport tower. We've got these little curbed gardens. So again, I've just left this as the normal grass for Solitude. With those curb props, kind of makes it into our own little planter. I've kind of found a newfound love for these curb props after this detailing session. So yeah, really enjoying those. And like how this little central plaza area sits in here on the side of this building as well. When we come onto the main plaza area, Squircle Square, we have again just used the curb props here. Yeah, I've got maybe a bit overboard with them. Some more bollards, added these bark planters underneath the palm trees outside the transport tower there. And then in the main square, I actually was really heavily debating this because I originally intended to make this a big concrete plaza, using some nice tiling and things like that to bring it together, lots of different things going on around it. And actually, again, I just thought keeping the green adds a really nice effect to the downtown, and you do find just open green spaces. Now this one I decided not to do the manicured grass, so actually if we go back to this plaza, I did paint over our fertile land on this so that we got rid of the grass sprite, so it looks very heavily like mowed and manicured out here. I decided not to do that actually in this plaza, so it looks a little bit more overgrown, and I'm kind of imagining it's between mows, shall we say, out here. Yeah, liking how the wild hedge with the fence behind it looks going onto this plaza. Used a lot of IMT here to put these cobblestones in to cover up all of those gaps that we get within the pedestrian streets when we're joining on the wide one onto the thin style of street here. And then lots of news stands with a few prop sims around. Again, we definitely need more. We need more on the benches. And of course, Captain Jack Squircle. Now, I did completely reposition this, obviously, from where we plopped it down before because I decided not to do the plaza around it. So we've got this right in front of this building now, and I used prop anarchy just to make it a little bit larger. So you can do that by clicking on a prop and using the comma key and the full stop key to make it larger or smaller. So we've just blown that up to give it a bit more stature. So I'm really enjoying how that looks. And I've also put a crowd marker out here. So that's what these sims are standing around looking up at Captain Jack Squircle. Yeah, lots more little props, benches, bins, things like that around the edge. Again, a few more prop sims around some of these little magazine stools out here as well. And then this bit I really, really like, this little fountain plaza area. So we've got the jet squirts coming into just one simple fountain jet, and actually took quite a lot of inspiration from the plaza that's already on this Plazas and Promenades building here. So with the hedge border, flower beds, benches, tiling, etc. on it, I decided to take a bit of inspiration from that and created my own with some of the bright tiles and that hedge border again with the metal bars on it and a few benches around with bins. And I really like these trees as well because they offer quite a lot of shade for Solitude, so I was enjoying that around this little seating area here. Again, we really need some prop sims and some actual functional benches in here. And there is an absolute ton of people coming out of our transport hub. It is literally a constant flow of people. You'll see up in the station here, there's so many people waiting for the train because the intercity lines come into here and they're hopping onto here to get back into Serenity and other places around the island. And of course, most people are choosing to take the train from Serenity rather than drive, so our traffic is an absolute dream around the downtown. And it doesn't just mean we get these absolute floods of people. So I'm assuming we're going to get one in a second with that train coming in. We'll just wait and see here. Yeah, here they come. And I just love how this looks down here when the crowds come out. And they come out into this area. They cross over onto this pedestrian path. They get on the trams. We have, again, put pathways through here so that we've got sims not just walking on pavements, but actually through some of these open plaza areas as well, which I think just adds a lot more interest. So yeah, it's just so satisfying to watch all of these people moving around this area. Really loving this, particularly with this little extra market stall area with the benches again here, the different food trucks. Some of the one-by-one modern city centre assets work really well here. People do actually use them. You see we've got a young boy with his teddy and his giant cat waiting at Jack's Curry's. Nice. But really liking these little sheltered benches, so we've used that as really quite a common theme, particularly on this side of the downtown. And you'll see these cars here. I was wondering what the hell they were doing floating up there, and of course I realised we've got parking on the roof on this asset, which is interesting. Very interesting indeed. So we might have to change the spawn point for that to try and get them to drive into some of these little garage areas through the middle here. See if we can do that. And then coming on to the houses, yeah, we have just added in a bit of fencing here, which keeps them nice and private as you come in off the slip road. I added in this little back road with these houses here and a few just trees around. It's pretty simple here. We just use a few decals to rough up the pavement in around quite a lot of the downtown actually. So like here as well, with this little police car lot. Really, really enjoying this. Just simple parking spaces, cars and a bit of fence and a gate round it. A couple of little arrows to signify the entrance to it, but I think it works really, really nicely there. And then much the same as we come around here, like we've just got additional little planters and benches and things all around the place. And I did bring in this road down the back here so that we could have this little open market in this area. And also with these little cafes with the functional tables as well. So we do have sims sitting at some of those at least, which is really nice to see. Yeah, I'm actually quite enjoying this little keyed wall area here. It would be very noisy. It wouldn't be the best place to sit next to the ring road. But, you know, you get that in central downtowns quite a lot. Again, things like this, we've just got bollards all the way along there. Added in planters under some of the trees, you know, another little benched shaded area. We have added in a few little street signs as well along the way, which I really like. Oh, well, there we go. You see, we've got a couple of more Green Cities market stalls just randomly on the corner. But, yeah, I quite enjoy how that sort of works overall. I think that is pretty much it, bar what we have done here under the railway. So we've got in these big car parks here with the entrance that flows in between these. So the pillars are all really nicely lined up. I'm quite enjoying that. And then we've just fenced off the back garden for these houses either side to give them a little bit of privacy there. A few little bushes around as well just to shelter them. A little bit of extra commercial out here. A big bite I thought would be appropriate by the station. Of course, we'll come on to this whole area, but we have also got another car park underneath the rail lines over here, which I'm, again, really enjoying. Pathways coming through from the main street and these bollards, yeah, all kind of flows and works together well. We have also added in recycling facilities under here, hidden it away, because we needed it in the downtown, frankly, and I thought that this was an appropriate place. It's a similar thing to what we did in Oregon, actually, but it works really nicely indeed. Oh, and then finally this little area. Again, I've added a shelter with some functional sitting tables. So we've got the sitting sims at them with some food trucks around. I'm really liking these little fenced in gardens down here. It feels very green going up towards these houses at the end. And I've kind of gone for a bit of a squiggle pattern here. So we kind of got the flower beds coming in and out to make a bit of a wiggly line through them. Similar over here as well to make it a little bit more interesting and a little bit more designed. I quite like how they look, particularly as we're looking down towards the big towers over there too. So yeah, I think that is pretty much it. So we've obviously got a ton of work to do to bring down these layers of height and kind of blend this downtown into the city around it. So we'll be coming onto those in the upcoming episodes. But really pleased with the start of it at least, and we've got some really like nice angles from what we saw before, particularly this one. I think actually, I have to say, this is actually turning out to be one of my favourite angles here from up in these hills. Looking down with the hills in the background. It feels quite tropical, I feel like, from here. But for today, that is going to be it. So if you have enjoyed the episode, likes, comments and shares on the video are really greatly appreciated. And if you're new to the channel, please do hit that subscribe button with the notification bell to find out when the next episode is coming out. But that's all from me for now, so thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you again next time. Bye bye!